This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to the Handicappers Report on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Jeff Carl, who missed in the air, but I will say it has warmed up since earlier in the week, so I was able to get out and do some raking yesterday.
Yeah, it is a little bit warmer. They are expecting some rain showers here in the capital region later in the afternoon. Same is in effect down in the New York metropolitan area. Just check my Weather Channel app. They're not expecting the rain to hit there till later in the afternoon into the evening. So they are fast and firm at Aqueduct today.
Excellent. Let's look back at Aqueduct for a second before we get into the handicapping for today. And Jeff, we'll look at Aqueduct. I'll look at Churchill in just a moment. But yesterday was the Red Smith handicap. Talked about it earlier in the week, Ellis Starr and also with John De Silva. And after the theft last week by Inimitable Romane, I wondered and pulled up a video of Imagining with John De Silva and said, would there be a theft again this week? Imagining last time out in the bowl game was pretty much wire to wire, and I wondered, will Imagining be able to do that? You know, pull the same kind of thievery on the front end? Well, Imagining wins the race, not on the front end, though.
Yeah, but jockey Joel Rosario showed why he's just a top-class rider yesterday in the Red Smith. Imagining didn't break well. He stumbled a little bit at the start, and instead of just rushing up into contention, first he got him out toward the outside where Shug McGahee had stated after the race that he likes to be, and then he let him just gradually move up and advance into a nice stalking position, which left plenty in the tank to hold off the late runners down the lane. And right, you know, what that happens, Seth, you always go into a race as a jockey with a plan A. Okay, and when plan A works out, you know, there's not a whole lot of thought process or skill that goes in there. You know, as long as your horse cooperates, everything goes well. But when you're able to go to plan B so quickly and make those adjustments on the fly like that, that's what separates top-class riders, the Joel Rosarios, the Castellanos, the Johnny Bless. That's what separates them, because they can make those decisions on the fly and still leave enough in the tank for the stretch run. Like I said, you'll see a lot of inexperienced riders or lesser riders would have rushed up to get into position. He didn't do that. It took him about 3/4 of a mile to get into that stalking position, but it left him enough in the tank. So just another great job by Joel Rosario.
Yeah, nice win. It was certainly a disappointment from the Ramsey and Trent Hyper, who was coming off the nice race up at Woodbine. There certainly was a little bit of a different track up there at Woodbine, but Hyper, as the 3-2 choice, winds up, eighth in the race. Imagining was the second choice at 3-1, gets it done. Hangover Kid upsets things a little bit, 23-1 running second. But Tannery, the girl against the boys, nice third.
Very nice third, and Hangover Kid yesterday was given out by our colleague Anthony Marmino. I was handicapping Aqueduct, but I thought the Red Smith was such an interesting race. I thought maybe our audience would like to hear Anthony's picks, as he likes to find those horses with a price, and he did. He thought Hangover Kid was going to run much better than his odds yesterday, and he certainly did. New York bred finishing second in a graded stake race, which happened out in the Mrs. Revere. Effie Trinket ran her eyeballs out, looked like the winner at the 16th pole, but was run down by Emotional Kitten, another Ramsey horse.
Yeah, Ramsey gets the job done down there. But Wesley Ward trainer, and Ken Ramsey certainly Wesley Ward. He's got some horses with Pletcher now. Multiple trainers, but it seems like Ramsey and Mike Maker are the team you got to watch down there in Kentucky, but not yesterday, as it was Emotional Kitten getting it done for Wesley Ward and Ken and Sarah Ramsey. Victor Espinoza on board. 9-2 there, and talked about this race with Ellis Starr as well, and we said, you looked at the morning line, you looked at the big full field, it looked like there was potentially some nice value there. Emotional Kitten, again, getting it done at 9-2 is, I think, only the second choice. Yeah, the favorite in the race, 3-1, was I'm Already Sexy, and that one winds up ninth. But when you have a 3-1 favorite, you're bound to get some value.
Yeah, it was. We talked about it yesterday in the show, what a wide open, interesting race it was. And yeah, you watched the replay, and it looked like Effie Trink, the New York bred trained by Rick Violette, was going to get there. But here come those white and red silks from out of the clouds. those kittens, Joyce, they're just really so impressive.
Yeah, it is tough to stop the Ramsey juggernaut, particularly when you're down in Kentucky. And also at Churchill Downs yesterday was the Commonwealth, a grade 3, mile and a 16th on the turf. It was River 7 coming in off a stakes victory up at Woodbine on a yielding turf course. Followed that up yesterday, winning the Commonwealth, and doing so as the 5-2 favorite. So on the day, again, there was some value in that race too, with a nice 12-horse field. But River 7 gets it done over Frack Daddy.
Oh, Frack Daddy still hanging in there.
Yeah, and it looked like a couple of races back when he debuted on the turf up at Saratoga, maybe nicely turf meant. Followed that up with a dud on the turf. Last time out, before yesterday, was at Keeneland in an off-the-turf event. Ran pretty well in the synthetic down there. But again, the race yesterday, running second on the turf, seems to say that Frack Daddy probably, and you know, the Keeneland win on the synthetic, the Frack Daddy may be more of a synthetic turf horse as we go forward.
I mean, if memory serves correctly, when he was on the Derby Trail earlier this year, he had all kinds of hoof problems and things like that. Yeah. If memory serves correctly, so horses that have bad feet, you know, sometimes it's just easier on them to run on that turf or the synthetic. Just a little bit more cushion for horses with bad feet. If their feet are hurting them, they don't run very much.
All right. We will shift our attention now. As mentioned earlier, Jeff's going to look at Aqueduct a little later on. I'm going to kick things off this morning looking at this afternoon's card at Churchill Downs.
The opener at Churchill is a mile and a 16th. It's a claiming event for 3 and up, which have not won a race in 2013. They're in for a claiming price of $5,000.
I have it 4, 3, 1, and 6. The number 4 is signature event. This one has a class edge. These are the kind of horses that I run into every once in a while, though, where just not sure of the dirt form. Most of the races, all of the races that are showing on the page of the past performances are either turf or synthetic. Now, if you go back in this horse's past performances, I'm looking 24 of the career starts have been on turf or synthetic, has 26 career lifetime starts. None of those were in the money. They're off the page, obviously. So the question mark today is the dirt. But I've said it before in situations like this, the class edge might overcome that. Last time out was in an allowance event at Keeneland. Prior to that, a 10 claimer at Keeneland. You go down the page, some allowance races showing before that. Today in for a 5,000 conditional tag. So again, I'm iffy on this horse on the surface switch, but I think there may be enough class that this horse will still be able to get it done. Second spot, we'll go to the number 3, Touch Me Quick. Needs to rebound to the prior good efforts last time out in a fairly similar race. It was a mile and an 1/8 last time, but class-wise an open 5. So now maybe a touch of class relief, a conditional 5. But last time in that open 5 was a real dud. Just prior to that, though, was in about this class level and was running decently and in a way that is going to put this horse up in the mix. So again, I think we have to rebound to those prior good efforts. And the last one just looks like enough of an aberration. I think we can take that shot. Third spot. Arturius, the number 1 horse. Wait, how about Tim Ice at the meet? According to the Daily Racing Form stats showing here, 3 wins and 4 starts early in the meet. This one comes in from a similar start up at Hawthorne. Didn't show much that day, but again, just overall and compared to the rest of the field, I think Arturius is absolutely going to fit with this bunch. And as noted, Tim Ice, red hot, with only a limited number of starters at the meet. So in the opener, Churchill Downs, 4, 3, 1, and 6.
And Tim Ice was the trainer of Summerbird several years ago when the Travers Stakes and the Belmont Stakes. And I kind of thought that was going to propel him a little bit to the national spotlight. But, you know, he's a very good trainer, and hopefully he can get another horse like that and show his wares out there to the racing public.
Start knocking at 75%.
That'll do it.
Win percentage. That's going to open some eyes, too.
Moving along to the Churchill Downs second race. It's 6 furlongs. It is a maiden claiming event for maidens 3 and up. They're in for a claim price of $30,000 down to $25,000.
I've got a 4-horse exacta-box play of the day in here because I think this could be an interesting race with my top pick at 12-1 being live, I think, in this one. 7, 6, 1, and 2. Brassard, the number 7 horse, 12-1 on the morning line by First Defense. I think there's some nice win early breeding here. The trainer can get it done first time out of the box. But the dam produced a sibling called Vans that won the first 2 starts of its career and it subsequently became a graded stakes winner. Also a sibling called Road to Seattle that won its first 2 starts, and that included a stakes race. So I think there's some nice precocious breeding here, and that 12-1 looks very inviting. So we'll take a shot with Brassard on top. Second spot, we'll go to Desert Dew, 6-1 on the morning line. With distinction on top, I like with distinction as a producer of precocious runners. Now, the career debut wasn't much, but may just have needed that for a little education. Now get some class relief in here. The dam produced a sibling called Cobrador that was third in the debut and then won. That was in Arlington back in 2006 at a maiden special weight event. Another sibling was called Spider Rock, second in the debut, then a couple of thirds, and then won in the fourth career start. That was a maiden special weight back in 2007 at Woodbine. And notably, as a 4-year-old, and Desert Dew is a 4-year-old. So it may be this is a family that gets a little bit of a late start, but they're pretty precocious once they get going. So Desert Dew, again, on the breeding, looks a little bit interesting to me. Similarly, number 1, Tail of the Stage by Tail of the Cat. Can't ignore that. With a limited sample, the trainer does pretty well first out of the box. And we'll also throw into our mix My Harlequin Man, maiden special weight to maiden claiming. That angle attracts my attention. So we got 12-1, 6-1, 5-1, 6-1. I think we'll take a little shot in here again. A 4-horse exact the box play of the day. You know what? I'm also going to do a little win place at 12-1. I can't let my top pick go away, so I'm going to do a little win place on the number 7 as well. But we'll box up the 4 in here. 7, 6, 1, and 2.
Moving along to the Churchill Downs third race. It's 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event. Fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won 2 races. Claiming price of $15,000 down to $10,000.
2, 1, 4, and 7. The number 2 is 5 feet and rising, my comment in here is, why not? And I think that's the situation. I'm just taking a little bit of a shot in here with a 15-1 shot on the morning line. Threw in a dud last time over a sloppy sealed track, but I think this is a race with a lot of question marks. And this one ran pretty well when last seen on a dry main track. That was back at the end of August at Ellis Park. Won that race pretty convincingly. Since then, a turf start, a synthetic start, and then again last time, that dud on a sloppy sealed track. Get some class relief in here today. Back perhaps on a dry track. 5 feet and rising is interesting to me. Just as I say, I'm taking a little shot in a race where nobody jumps off the page at me. But at 15-1, I think this horse could be very interesting and competitive. Horse that certainly is going to take a lot of action is Top Tier Last. Goes out for Mike Maker and Ken and Sarah Ramsey. But the only dirt try for this horse was essentially the worst effort of the career, certainly Beyer figure-wise, but it was on a sloppy sealed track at Saratoga. So this horse on a dry track may improve. A little bit of class relief off of that race, 2 back on the off-going at Saratoga. Again, it's one of those races where you can make some comments for and against. Top Tier Last, though, at 8-5 on the morning line, and with those connections, certainly likely to take plenty of action. I think this is one that I'm willing to take maybe a little bit of a stab against. And then the number 4, Cam and Khan's Girl. Gets some class relief, but it is first-time dirt. I mentioned earlier, these horses on the class relief are eligible maybe to have an edge even with the surface switch. I'm just not sure that this one is one of those that I want to jump on that particular angle, because again, it's just a race where I'm willing to take a shot on a horse that I think you go back to that last dry track dirt race for the number 2. I think this is one that absolutely could be interesting, and again, in a little bit of a confounding race. Third race, I have it 2, 1, 4, and 7.
That's going to take us to the 4th race at Churchill Downs. It's a 1.16 miles. It is an open claiming event for 3 and up. They're in for a claiming price of $50,000.
I have the 1 entry, 4, 6, and 5 as my top 4. The plain one, it happened again. The 1A, the Best Glacier. To me, the plain one is preferred. I think the plain one, it happened again, has the edge on the numbers for Tommy Amos and Maggie Moss. But it's one of those situations, and Miguel Mena is named on both of them, so I have a feeling it's going to be one or the other. Again, I prefer it happened again. Would much rather see that one run. I think that one has a clear edge on the field. But it's one of those situations with crafty claiming level connections that I'll trust them if they decide to run the Best Glacier. I think the Best Glacier, fits and is competitive. It happened again, I think, has an edge. But I'll trust the connections if they decide to go with the Best Glacier. So 1 entry on top. Echemanis in the 2nd spot. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. I looked up yesterday. It's some kind of Greek god or an overlord of the Iran area thousands of years ago. And so I'm sure that has more of a lyrical sound that I just gave to it. But the number 4 showed an affinity for the track back in 2012. A couple of starts now since a comeback from March, has started since then in September and October. Nice improvement from start 1 to start 2 on the comeback, and I think probably primed to run well today. And number 6, Mo Man, tossed some big numbers in this summer. You go back to August 16th and September 7th right here at Churchill Downs. Again, the numbers would be very, very competitive with this bunch. Last time out of Sloppy Seal track at 7.5, might have just needed that start off, a little bit of a layoff of about a month and a half, but I think this horse, again, going back to those summertime numbers, is going to fit well with this field. 4th at Churchill, the 1 entry, 4, 6, and 5.
Moving along to the 5th race at Churchill Downs. It is 6 furlongs. It is a maiden claiming event. Fillies and mares 3 and up. They're in for a claiming price of $10,000.
I have it 4, 8, 5, and 3. The number 4 is Olivia B. You have Tail of the Cat on top, so this is a horse clearly meant to win sooner rather than later with that kind of breeding on top. Although, I've said it before, a lot of those breeding notes go out the window when you get down here at the maiden 10 level. But it's Dale Romans. He's having an okay meet. This horse did improve start 1 to start 2. Had a sibling called Monsieur Filot, who was 3rd in the career debut and then won in the 2nd start. That was over in Europe. Another sibling called Good Hope Girl, 11th in the career debut, then 3rd, then won, which seems to be a similar scenario to Olivia B. So maybe a couple of starts for them to figure it out, then they move forward on the breeding. As I say, though, at the 10 level, sometimes those breeding angles don't quite hold up. But a lightly raced horse in a race which contains a number of horses that have plenty of opportunity. So Olivia B on top for me. 2nd spot, the number 8, No in Advance. This is one of those long-time losers, 17 career starts. 7 of those have been 2nd or 3rds, though. So showed some life in the latest event, which was tied the lifetime best buyer figure. Maybe if this one can string a couple together, we'll be up there in the hunt today. And then in the 3rd spot, another lightly raced horse with some breeding that intrigues. Candy Ride on top for the number 5, Sweet and Treats. 20 to 1 on the morning line. With Candy Ride, that attracts my attention. The dam produced a sibling called A Seed, however, that in 5 career starts has no wins, but does have a 2nd and a couple of 3rds. I think this horse is going to run better than that career debut. I think the time off might have added some maturity, and we can expect a little bit better from Sweet and Treats. But given that career debut, I think that 20 to 1 will hold up. So number 5 could be interesting in this race and worth including in the mix. 5th at Churchill, 4, 8, 5, and 3.
And there you have set selections for Churchill races 1 through 5. We're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll finish out today's Churchill Downs 10 race card. Please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at CapitalOTB.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver Series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. I am Jeff Carl alongside Seth Merrill. Before the break, Seth gave you his selections for Churchill Downs races 1 through 5. We're going to move along to race number 6, and we're going to move to the turf course. It's a mile and a 16th. It is a starter allowance for 3 and up, which has started for a claiming price of $16,000 or less since May 1st of 2012.
5, 12, 1, and 8. The number 5 is Flatter Me Jim. The most recent turf starts were pretty good. On the synthetic at a mile and a quarter last time at Keeneland, probably a distance question mark in the surface, but you go back to the turf starts just prior to that, and I think this horse is going to be a very cozy fit with this bunch today. So Flatter Me Jim on top with the return to the turf. We'll go out to the number 12, sneaking away in the second spot. Another one that I think is going to appreciate the return to turf was on a sloppy track over at Indiana Downs last time in a state bred stakes race. Okay, 6th in a field of 12, but the 3 starts just prior to that were on the turf, and all were very competitive as compared to this bunch. So again, I think this horse is absolutely going to appreciate the return to grass. Gallant Eagle in the 3rd spot. This one doesn't really have much of a turf record showing on the page. Now, there were some turf starts in the career and hadn't done too much. But I think if you look at the most recent synthetic starts, this horse could be competitive today with the move and in this field. I'm a little leery given that turf record. As I say, we're not showing any on the page, but the most recent synthetic starts look pretty good. So maybe since those turf starts, this horse has just gained a little more talent or maturity. We'll see today, but I'll base it on those most recent synthetic starts up at Arlington and hope that transfers over to the grass a little later in this horse's career now. In the 6th, I have it 5, 12, 1, and 8.
That's going to take us to the 7th race at Churchill Downs. Let me scroll down here. 6.5 furlongs. It's a maiden special weight event for 2-year-old fillies.
I have it 6, 8, 3, and 4. The number 6 is Resistivity, who put in a nice bullet workout on November 10th, just about a week ago. And the trainer, Mark Cassidy, does pretty good second time out of the box. This one had a race that I think over at Keeneland looked like a good foundation to move off of, a good career debut. And a lot of times horses, their best improvement of the career is from start 1 to start 2. And again, off of that career debut that looked okay, nice foundation, bullet work, I think this could be one of those horses that comes back and runs very well in the second career start. That noted, I think this is a very tough race, so I wouldn't argue with going in a bunch of different directions, but I'm going to put the 6 on top. Number 8, Miss and Miss in the 2nd spot. The trainer, another one that does pretty well second time out of the box, and this one showed some good punch in the first start. That is an effort that I think a horse can move forward from, having been out in the lead and really duking it out early and then fading to be 3rd in a field of 12. But it was the kind of race that, again, I think it's likely this horse will benefit from. And Avisai, the number 3 horse in the 3rd spot for me, trainer with a very limited sample, does very well with 2-year-olds and did pretty well in the career debut with this one, running 2nd up at Woodbine, going 5.5 on the synthetic. Again, another horse that I think is going to benefit from the career debut and move forward and show some added maturity coming out of that education. This one, by City Zip, also has some breeding that says win early rather than later. So in the 7th at Churchill, I have it 6, 8, 3, and 4.
And the 8th at Churchill appears to be the 2nd division of this maiden special weight, 6.5 furlongs for 2-year-old fillies.
And in this one, I'm going to call it a 4-horse exacta box, but it's one of those where take a look at the odds, and if it makes sense, maybe toss the 9 into the mix as well. I have a 2, 8, 5, and 1, but the 9 scares me quite a bit, being a first-time starter by Tappet. Now, to dip 5 deep, it would definitely have to make sense, but my second choice here is 8 to 1. My top pick is also 8 to 1. So it may make sense to dip in maybe lightly. You know, $1 exacta box costs you $20, and if you get back $100 for it, that would be nice. But it would have to make sense. So I'll only call it a 4-horse exacta box. I'm also going to do a win place on my top pick in here, same as I did in that first division. I have it 2, 8, 5, and 1 again, and the number 2 is Calm Water. Why am I jumping on this horse? Well, Belmont, Juddmont Farms. Oh, yeah, and it's a full sibling to Emollient. Now, I may be threatening to kick myself twice with the same bloodlines here, because it was last summer up at Saratoga. I used Emollient in the career debut. I was in the Times-Union as the OTB selector that day, named Emollient my top pick. And the guys in the Times-Union, even though I ran second, still walked up and gave me a pat on the head, because Emollient ran second in her career debut, 19-1,
Wow.
going 7 furlongs. So 6.5 for the full sibling. I don't know whether we'll get to 19-1 today, but 8-1 in the morning line still looks pretty nice. So with the full sibling to Emollient, same connections. I'll take a shot, Calm Water on top. Second spot, the number 8, Senior Prom. Mr. Greeley on top, and the dam produced a sibling called King Kid that won its career debut, maiden special weight, going 7 furlongs on the turf at Churchill in 2011. So just 2 years ago, about this time of year, same connection, same owner, same trainer. Sibling did very, very well. So Senior Prom also gets in my mix. And then the Wayne Lucas runner, Flashy Ride by Candy Ride. Said it earlier, I like Candy Ride's first time out of the box. And this one had a dam that produced a sibling called Savoy Special that was knocking at the door in the first few starts, second, third, second, and then ripped off a couple of wins. So it took 5 starts to get a win, but it was still, as I say, it was knocking on the door in all of those early starts. Another sibling called Flashy 3 that won its career debut, and a sibling called Nuclear Wayne that was 7th in the debut, but then put together a couple of wins. So I think Flashy Ride is certainly going to be a winner early type. Again, I'm going to box up my top 4, but do watch out for that number 9. See if it makes sense to maybe throw that one into the mix. Win place on the number 2, box up the 4, 2, 8, 5, and 1.
A couple of fun 2-year-old maiden special weights out there at Churchill Downs today in the 7th and 8th race. That's going to take us to the 9th race at Churchill Downs. We're going to go back to the turf course. 5 furlongs. It's an allowance optional claiming event. Fillies and mares 3 and up, which has never won 2 races, or a claiming price of $62.5.
3, 5, 10, and 8. The number 3 is Lignite, goes out for Wesley Ward. And what can you say? It's a turf sprint, and this is a turf sprinter trained by Wesley Ward. I've said it before, I think turf sprinting is something of a specialty. This horse has done well turf sprinting in the past. Last time out was in a tough turf sprint stake over at Keeneland. I'm going to forgive that. I think this group is going to be a little bit easier. So Lignite on top for me. Tripping along, the number 5 horse gets into the 2nd spot. I think the move from stakes to an optional claimer and is in for the tag. I think Tripping Along finds maybe a little bit of class relief in here today and should run well. And then in the 3rd spot, we will go with yet another Wesley Ward runner, Bears Tripper. Goes out for Wesley Ward, and if you go back in the past performances to late spring, early summer, was sprinting on the grass out in Southern California, and in fact transfers into the barn of Wesley Ward from Peter Miller out in Southern California. So the move over to east of the Mississippi, but going into the barn of a guy who does very well with turf sprinters, and a turf sprint here at Churchill Downs, Bears Tripper, I think is going to fit in here. In the 9th at Churchill, 3, 5, 10, and 8.
That's going to take us to the 10th and finale at Churchill Downs today. It is 6 furlongs, maiden claiming event. Fillies 2-year-olds, they're in for a claim price of $15,000 down to $12,500.
I'm going to box up my top 3 in here. 3 horse exacta box, 2, 10, 9, and 6. The number 2 is Closing Argument. Love closing arguments early on. This one, the career debut for Ian Wilkes, was okay. I think Ian Wilkes is a guy who definitely wants to get a race into the horse before they fire next time out. So I think the 2nd time out of the box, this one will benefit from the career debut, plus finding the maiden special weight to maiden claiming class relief. Case made, the number 2 horse on top for me. 2nd spot, the number 10, Granny Grump. 7-time starter, 7-time loser, but a couple of seconds and a 3rd place finish in there. And last time out right here at Churchill Downs was one of those 2nd place finishes. Lifetime best buyer figure, so may just be figuring it out. Also the 2 starts at this 15 tag were both 2nd place finishes, so probably level-wise, class-wise is in the comfort zone. Then I will go with a first-time starter in the 3rd spot, the number 9, Lady Mickelson. Breeding didn't necessarily jump off the page at me. The workouts are okay. They're kind of steady, but they don't jump out at me either. But Chris Richard does pretty well first time out of the box, and he's a trainer. If you've been watching over the past month or so. He's a guy I've mentioned a few times who has jumped off the page and kind of attracted my attention, a guy out in the Midwest who just seems to be worth taking a little notice of currently. So Chris Richard with some good first out of the box stats attracts my attention with Lady Mickelson. In the 10th at Churchill, again, I'm going to do a 3-horse exacta box in here. 2, 10, 9, and 6.
And there you have it. Set selections for today's Churchill Downs card. We're going to take another break. When we come back, I'll give you my picks for today's Aqueduct card. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Jeff Carl, happy you took the time to join us this morning. Hopefully we can give you some good information. I just took a look at Churchill Downs. Jeff will kick things off now, the opener at Aqueduct for this afternoon. Starting things out with a stakes race.
And a good
right
one.
off the bat.
And
$100,000, the Duluth for 3-year-olds, going 1 1/16 on the grass.
And they are fast and firm at Aqueduct today. I said earlier in the show, it appears to me they're predicting that the rain that's supposed to come won't be till later in the evening. Just checked on my NYRA feed here. They are fast and firm today in the opener. Like I said, I thought it was a very good race. I'm going to go 8, 5, and 2. Trying to find a little bit of value in here because the number 5, North Slope, not a cat but a llama, and the number 3, Joe Ha. I think you're kind of splitting hairs with those two. I'm going to go with the number 8, Mills on top. The comment from his last race in the Jamaica Handicap was snug hold early. I went back and watched that race. In fact, announcer Tom Durkin said he had a hammerlock, Ira Ortiz, on this horse, and he really was bottled up behind horses the whole time. And when you've got that much of a hold of a horse throughout the entire race, it does kind of drain them. You're working against them. Not that it was Irat's fault, but he was just kind of pinned down on the rail with no place to go. This horse, Mills, never really got a chance to stretch his legs. And this is a son of Any Given Saturday. It looked like he was ascending to some prominence in the 3-year-old turf division with a nice race in the Stroll Stakes at Saratoga. And I think he's got a big excuse in that Jamaica, the fact that he was just bottled up the whole way. Ira Ortiz now has a trip over this horse. That was the first time he rode him that day. So that familiarity kind of comes into play. And now he's got an outside post, which I think will help him. He shouldn't get bottled up. And you know what? I did go for a little value here. Let's go with the number 8, Mills on top. As I stated a moment ago, it's hard for me to separate the number 5, North Slope, the number 2, not a cat but a llama, and the number 3, Joe Ha. I think just the trip's going to make the difference in here. I went North Slope and not a cat but a llama in the 2nd and 3rd spot. But again, it's just they're so evenly matched. It's just going to be a matter of what trip each one of them gets. 8, 5, and 2 in the Aqueduct opener. Good way to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. A little stakes race to kick things off this afternoon. Race number 2 at Aqueduct, a B-level claimer at the $12,500 level. These are 3-year-olds and up. They will go 3/4 of a mile.
10, 1, and 5 here. The number 10, Driven by Solar, fits the third part of this condition, which states that horses that would have not won a race on the dirt since July 2nd of 2013. His last one on the dirt was June 6th, so he fits the parameters there. His last 2 races have been on the turf. 20,000, 2 starts back. He was a very close second. He was claimed out of his last race by David Jacobson out of a poor effort. Going to drop him right down to the 12.5 level. And you know, he just seems to fit this third part of the condition very well. He has won on the dirt before many times. He's earned over $350,000. So let's put the number 10, Driven by Solar, on top. For second, I'm going to go down to the inside to the number 1, Money Only. He fits the third part of this condition again, and he just kind of slides in there, Seth. His last win was on July 1st. The condition states won a race on the dirt since July 2nd. So he just slides in here. That win was on the sloppy track at Parks for Never Won 3 Lifetime, $25,000. They elevate him to the Never Won 4 Life for $25,000 at Parks. Subsequently, you know, he couldn't quite handle that. But, you know, I think he fits well here with the 12.5. Again, he fits that third part of the entry. The way I look at those 3-part conditions, I kind of parse them out to see who fits the first part, who fits the second part, who fits the third part. And I thought these 2 horses that fit that condition, that third part of the condition, were just a little bit better than the other ones in here. For third, I'm going to go with the number 5, Poliziano. He does fit the first part of the condition. He only has 2 wins to his credit. Trained by David Jacobson. His last race, he won a 12.5, beaten easily in last. Now, I'm going to assume that was a Never Won 2 Life. As we've stated before, when the past performances come out and all you see is the beat, and you don't really know the definition of the true definition of what race they're running in. But to me, it appears that it was a Never Won 2 Life. He did win that easily, so I think he's in good form. Let's put him in the mix. 10, 1, and 5 in the Aqueduct second race.
Have another little stakes race for race number 3 this afternoon at Aqueduct. Again, a $100,000 purse. The Slew of Gold for 3-year-olds and up. They're scheduled to go 9 furlongs.
And my memory of Slew of Gold when I was a young fella on the farm in Ocala, I wanted to take a week off and go home, which is out just north of Binghamton. My boss said he would allow me to go if I would go up to Saratoga and visit John Hertler, who we'd sent a 2-year-old up with. And at that time, John Hertler was training Slew of Gold, so it was a big deal for me. I was like maybe 18 years old to go up to Saratoga and get to see Slew of Gold up close and personal. I'll never forget, he had a security guard by his stall, Seth. He was that, he was that well regarded. But John Hertler, still one of my favorite people on the racetrack. Very gracious to me that day at 18 years old, and still very gracious to anybody he runs into on the racetrack. But get on to today's race. I went 2, 3, and 7. The number 2, Percussion. He just looks like he's the speed of the race. He has an inside post. The only possible pressure he could get would be from the number 8, Romancing the Gold, who I don't think can hang with Percussion, and would be foolish to try to, because Percussion starts off toward the inside. So as long as he breaks well, I wouldn't think Jose Lezcano was going to be chasing him with Romancing the Gold. And I think Percussion, you're not going to see that half and 45 and 3/4 and 9 that he faced in the I'm a Banker, where he faded late. So I think there'll be plenty of gas left in the tank for Percussion turning for home. He is 2-1 the morning line. No big shot there. But you know what? I think this race is all his. For second, I went with the number 3, Add a Gun. They switched him to the turf, and maybe it didn't ascend him to a first-tier racehorse like they had hoped he would become. He did finish second in the Grade 3 Louisville on the turf. But now he's going to go back to dirt, where he competed in last year's Triple Crown, was 4th in the Travers, Jockey Club Gold Cup. He's also been moved into trainer Jimmy Jerkins' barn from trainer Kenny McPeek, and I think that's a positive move for my money. I'll take Jimmy Jerkins over Kenny McPeek. So again, he's 7-2 in the morning line. I didn't see an awful lot of places to go. For third, I'm going to try to put in the number 7, Bigger is Better. A little love for the New York bred. He couldn't run down Saratoga Snacks in the Empire Classic in his last start. I don't think he's going to be able to run down Percussion either, but good enough to be third at 6-1. 2, 3, and 7 in the Slew of Gold.
And race number 4 this afternoon at Aqueduct is a maiden special weight event. These are 2-year-old fillies scheduled for the grass, mile and 16th.
8, 12, and 4 here. The number 8, Jazzle's Dream. Just, she appears to be ready to break her maiden today. I mean, she's progressively gotten better through all 3 of her career starts. I talked about that natural progression. Not all horses are trained or have that instinct to win first time out, but you like to see them get a little bit better. Her second start was an off-the-turfer at Belmont. She got beat ahead, then back to the turf in her third start, only got beat a half a length. So, I mean, almost 7-1 that day, 5-2 today. I think she's ready to break her maiden. The only thing I had a little bit of pause of concern with is Raji Mirage has ridden her the last 2 times. Now they have Jose Lescano, which I don't think is a bad move, but, I mean, Jose rode this horse in her first start, but I don't see Raji Mirage on any other horse in the race. So, yeah, I can't see where maybe he did anything wrong, but maybe the owners and the connections just prefer Jose Lescano. It's not enough for me to get off the horse because I think Jose's doing a very nice job lately. So I'll put Jazzle's Dream on top. For second, I went with the number 12, Saratoga Karaoke, to try to spice it up a little bit. 10-1 in the morning line. Her last 2 races have been sprinting on the turf for trainer Carl Domino. Has just run very, very evenly. Was 3rd by 3.5, then 4th by 5.5 at 7 furlongs and 6 furlongs. And I think that bodes well when they run evenly in sprint races. When they stretch out to 2 turns, they just kind of keep hitting that same lick, and maybe can be a little bit closer to the pace. And you know what? At 10-1, let's throw her in the mix because I think she's eligible to improve just enough to be on the board today. And for third, I'm going to go down to number 4, Hardly, who had a very useful debut race on October 11th. Finished 4th that day. Really wasn't bet. Almost 30-1 that day. Trained by Mark Hennig. Now picks up the services of Javier Castellano. 3-1 in the morning line. That's going to send a lot of horses toward Hardly's way. But I'm going to go 8, 12, and 4 in the Aqueduct 4th race.
Very good. Race number 5 at Aqueduct this afternoon. Another B-level claimer at the $12,500 level. 3-year-olds and up. 6 furlongs the trip.
11, 8, and 3 here. The number 11, My Way or Dubai Way, fits the second part of this condition, having won 2 races in his career, and has been steadily stockpiling checks up at Finger Lakes all year long in the 2nd and 3rd level allowance races. Last time out he did regress quite a bit in his last start, but I think he fits well with this bunch, 12-5. And I didn't see a whole ton of what I would call scary speed. This My Way or Dubai Way does have some early foot. And what I mean by scary speed, when as a jockey, when you look at horses, you try to figure out who's going to be in front. And I don't see, there is some speed in the race, but I don't see horses that are just confirmed speed horses that I think are just going to completely run away from My Way or Dubai Way. If I saw that, I'd be a little bit concerned that maybe he'd get discouraged, in the early part of the race if a couple horses just ran away from him. But I think there's not an overload of speed in here, and I think he's got enough speed that he can be in contention early and maybe feel like he's going to be a part of it late and be able to run them down late. So at 10-1, let's put My Way or Dubai Way on top. For second, I went with the number 8, Stone Rocks. It was 15-1 in the morning line. Stone Rocks fits the first part of this condition, only having won 1 race in 11 starts, dropping down from 35,000, and before that was overmatched in the state-bred allowance races. I always say the best hop is a drop. This horse did break his maiden for 50,000 state-bred claiming there. 15-1 I think is very generous. Steve Jerkins and Mike Luzzy. Let's throw Stone Rocks in the mix. And for third, I'm going to go with the number 3, Western Grit. Western Grit fits the second part of this condition with 2 wins to his credit. He runs well when he makes the course, Seth. But so at 5-2, I can't put him on top because 2 starts he was pulled up and walked off, and he's done some funny things. But at his best, he should be in the mix. Let's go 11, 8, and 3 in the Aqueduct 5th race.
How is Stone Rocks not a Roddy Valenti horse? That's what I want to know.
Well, they Bustin' Stone's got he got some outside mares to breed too.
Well, no, this one by Stonesider.
I didn't even look.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why. But you'd think with that name, Roddy should put his the copyright on all these Stone Rock names. All right, we will take our next break. When we come back, a continued look at Aqueduct. Stay tuned.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Continuing our look now at Aqueduct for this afternoon with race number 6, a state-bred optional claiming event. Tags of $35,000. The condition non-winners of 2 other than 3-year-olds and up, mile on the turf.
And they are fast and firm at Aqueduct today. Very interesting race. I went 4, 5, and 7 here. The number 4 Knocker Off I'm going to put on top, and I'm looking for Knocker Off to get a perfect trip from that number 4 post position. He has the speed directly to his inside. The number 3 Danceteria. The number 1 Sandy Slews also has some early foot. And, you know, I loved him last time out. You know, when I look back at that race on September 28th where he just really ran poorly, he never looked comfortable for that in that day for some reason, which I'm not sure. But his only other two turf starts are very, very good. He looked dynamite breaking his maiden first time on Saratoga turf, 3 starts back, and then kind of, you know, showed a little bit more of what we saw in Saratoga in that last race. He's 8-1 the morning line. He is stretching out. But I think he should get a very, very nice trip. Like I said, with the speed directly inside him, I would expect Junior Alvarado just to kind of sit off of them and get a nice stalking trip all the way around there. For second, I went with the number 5, Karakoram Legend. He's in for the $35,000 portion of this race, just one of them tough old campaigners. But you know what? He is lightly raced this year. He's only raced 4 times. This will be his 5th start of his 2013 campaign. So I think he's still got a little bit of life left in those old legs. And at 6-1, I'm going to throw Karakoram Legend in the second spot. For third, I'm going to go with the number 7, Isn't Love Just Grand. You know, last time I was a little bit of a question mark. He's been running very well on the turf. And then trainer Mitch Friedman, who I'm a big fan of, I think he does a very nice job. I don't quite understand why he ran Isn't Love Just Grand on the dirt. Going 7 furlongs, never picked his feet up. Maybe they're trying to see if he was going to be a horse they could keep around here for the winter, but maybe that was the case. But back to the turf, and you know, 2 starts back, he did beat Karakoram Legend and the number 1 Sandy Slew before that. So let's throw him in the mix at 12-1. The horse I'm leaving out because I'm a little bit leery of it, Seth, is the number 2 Street Game. Being dropped in for $35,000. You know, this is a multiple stake winner in the state bred ranks, and you know he hasn't really run well his last few starts. And what really scares me in a way is that Jose Lezcano was named the board, and everything I see in the past performance, Jose Lezcano's never rode him. So to me, when they drop a horse and they change riders, it's never a good sign. 4, 5, and 7 for me in the Aqueduct 6 race.
Race number 7 this afternoon at Aqueduct. It is another optional claiming event for state breds. 14 tags, non-winners are one other than fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, 6.5 furlongs.
I'm going to go 4, 7, and 8 here. The number 4, Gendemar. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but I remember liking this filly an awful lot last year because she broke her maiden in her first start, and then with a very nice second subsequent start, first time against winners. That was, last year about this time. Then she started going backwards because I was kind of following this filly. I thought she was going to be all right. And I remember her having some problems in the gate. They scratched her in the gate one day. And again, like I said, her next 3 races, she just regressed dramatically. But she hasn't run since April, so maybe there's a chance for this filly to grow up mentally, physically. John Kimmel's not necessarily known for having horses run well off a layoff, but I didn't think this was an overly tough entry-level allowance race. And she does have a sharp gate work coming into the race, 36 and change. So maybe that put her up on the toes. Maybe that maturation is just going to take effect. I'm going to put Gendemar on top. For second, I'm going to go with the number 7, Milky Your Way. Never run this short in her 14-race career. Her last couple of starts, she just hasn't been finishing up, except if you go 4 races back, run 7 furlongs at Saratoga. She did finish up a little bit down the lane. And then, like I said, subsequently, there was 3 distance races. Maybe this is the time the cutback will really, really help Milky Your Way. Let's put her in the second spot. And for third, the number 8, Ascended Fever. Her 2 career wins have been on the turf, so she's switching to the dirt today. And she has been a good second. She was a good second her last 2 on the turf. Stats on the dirt, 3 starts, but 2 seconds. So, there's a possibility. Again, you've got a New York bred that you've been running on the turf. You're going to see if they're going to handle the dirt because it's an awful long winter and there is no turf racing. So 4, 7, and 8 in here.
8th race at Aqueduct this afternoon, optional claiming event. Claiming tag, 62,000. Condition, non-winners are 2 other than. These are 3-year-olds and up on the grass, 1.1 miles.
Another really fun race. I went 5, 2, and 1. The number 5, Hothersall, 2-1 the morning line, and Hothersall fits the allowance portion of this event. And he was the beaten favorite at this level his last 2 races. But I think he's going to get the job done today, so there's no real big surprises today. Jockey Javier Castellano should easily get this horse into a nice stalking position, has enough early foot. This is the 3rd start off a layoff. It is a Todd Pletcher horse, and Todd's horses generally don't need to be raced into condition, but maybe this one is one of those that is the exception to the rule as far as Todd is concerned, and does need some races under his belt to get into top shape. So, I'm going to go with Hothersall in the top spot. For second, I'm going with the number 2, Dysprosium. 2 starts back, he won a race called the Needles at Calder. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I did look up Dysprosium. What Dysprosium means, it is an element of the rare earth group that forms highly magnetic compounds. And this is a son of Rock Hard 10 out of Omni Diamond, so very crafty naming of this horse. But last time out, moved into the trainer Bill Mott's barn, ran in the basket weave, and just never really picked his feet. He was laying close and just never really showed anything. But now back to allowance company. So at 8-1, if I can hook up Dysprosium with the morning line favorite Hothersall, that could be a decent little exacta for me. And for third, I'm going to go down to the number 1, Cheyenne Nation. I just think he's a cool old dude, this Cheyenne Nation. He did beat Hothersall 2 starts back, but that was Hothersall's first start coming off a layoff. So I think Hothersall is probably a little bit sharper now. But Cheyenne Nation from the 1 post should be able to save ground around there and be in the picture. 5, 2, and 1 in the Aqueduct 8th race.
Finale today at Aqueduct, race number 9. It is a maiden claiming event. Claiming tag, $16,000. These are 3-year-olds and up, going 6 furlongs.
I went 8, 2, and 1 here. The number 8, Chief Scout. 2 career starts really aren't anything to write home about. He started his career at Laurel, ran maiden special weight, and just kind of ran nice and evenly along there. Then he was shipped up to New York, ran on November 7th for maiden $50,000 for trainer Bruce Levine. I went back and watched this race because the comment was green early, outrun. And yeah, he was just kind of jumping around like a kangaroo, Seth. And believe me, it was reminiscent of a lot of the horses I used to ride in my career that used to just jump around there. In fact, most of the ones I rode couldn't outrun a kangaroo, Seth. But Chief Scout, I think with the blinkers on and this drop all the way down to 16,000, this is the son of Indy and Charlie. You know, I mean, they paid $150,000 for him. You certainly weren't hoping you'd be trying to win a maiden $16,000 race with him. But 8-1, blinkers on, that definitely should help him. So like I said, I went back and watched this replay, and he was so green, running all over the place down the backstretch. So this should help him focus. And again, this is maiden 16,000. These aren't tough horses. Let's put him on top. For second, I'm going to go with the number 2, Rap D'Oro. Rap D'Oro just continues that descent down the ladder. You know, he'd been running maiden special weight. The last time out, maiden 35 wasn't enough of a drop, so let's drop him all the way down to 16,000. Manuel Franco aboard, take a little weight off the horse. Let's put him in the second spot. And for third, I'll go down to the inside to the number 1, Duro. That's another one dropping down the ladder. He was claimed for 40,000 2 races back, owned and trained by Danny Gargan. Boy, again, you don't want to claim a horse for 40,000, then have to run him for 16,000. But you know, it's the reality of the business. It doesn't always work out that way. But again, this is another one dropping down. Let's go 8-2-1 in the Aqueduct 9th race.
Very good. So we just took a look at Aqueduct. A little later on, I looked at Churchill Downs. Those are but 2 of the tracks you'll be able to watch here on the network this afternoon. Plenty of action kicking off with Saratoga Harness, then on to Aqueduct and Churchill, then Gulfstream, Hawthorne, Hollywood, Dover Downs, Rideau, Carlton, Mountaineer, Pompano, and later on Balmoral and Australia A and Australia B. Plenty of action on the network. And don't forget, if you didn't get a chance to write down our selections, head on over to capitalotb.com. On the right-hand side of the page there, you see the Handicappers Report link. Nice printable page with our selections for this afternoon. Also, don't forget, Capital OTB Bet is the new wagering platform. Hop on board if you haven't already. Sign up. It's certainly a step up that allows you to watch multiple tracks there on your computer, keep track of them. If you have any questions or comments, you can check out customer service on the new platform. I've said it before, I jumped on and was up and going in about 5 minutes, but it is a little bit different, so if you do have any concerns, you can get in touch with customer service. All right, that will wrap things up for the Handicappers Report for this Sunday morning. Seth Merrill, Jeff Carl in here, giving a little look at Aqueduct and Churchill Downs. Hopefully we gave out some good advice. Good luck this afternoon. Up next, it's Loose on the Lead.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.